Okay, hello everybody. Yeah, hope you are doing fine. Okay, so our subject is statics of rigid bodies. Let's have a brief introduction of our subject. Although I have given you already your modules, you may read through it and study the different principles that you need to review. Review because I believe you have learned most of these principles and concepts in your previous subjects in high school or in physics or any science subject that you have taken before. Okay, so a brief introduction of statics of rigid bodies. I hope we can finish this in a few minutes. Okay, so it's a required subject. This is your most major subject, I think, this semester, because many of the subjects, major subjects next semester, are anchored on this subject. So take this subject very, very seriously. Okay, so what is statics of rigid bodies? There are a lot of terms in there. Let's try to define each term. Okay, in this particular subject. So statics and then rigid bodies. Let's try to define later on what is statics and what is rigid body. Before that, let's try to define the following terms na lang muna. Itong mga terms na ito. Mechanics. If you try to study yung physics, so basically we have under sciences, we have three different branches. We have general branches: physics, biology, and chemistry. So basically sa civil engineering and most of the engineering courses, basically nasa physics tayo, application ng physical concepts. Sa atin, application ng mechanics. So sa physics, we have a lot of branches of physics. We have electricity, optics, magnetism. One branch is mechanics. So under mechanics, it is further subdivided into two: statics and dynamics. So ang subject natin ngayon, or ang course natin, ay statics of rigid bodies. Sa mechanics din, may mga iba't ibang theories or concepts na meron tayo sa mechanics, pero ang gagamitin natin would be the classical mechanics. Okay. When we say classical mechanics, we actually refer to Newtonian mechanics. Ibig sabihin, we're going to apply the Newton's laws of motion and the analysis of particles or bodies. So i-apply pa rin natin yung Newton's laws of motion because meron tayong ibang ginagamit ngayon, yung quantum mechanics based on quantum theory. Meron ding relativistic mechanics, but ang analysis natin sa civil engineering would be practically based on Newtonian or classical mechanics. We're going to apply the Newton's laws of motion. So ano bang mechanics? Branch of physical sciences concerned with the state or motion of bodies that are subjected to the action of forces. So we'll be dealing with forces, and with those forces, how would bodies react relative to these forces? So that's mechanics. We're going to try to model or analyze the motion or reaction of these bodies based on the forces that are applied to it. So basically, ganun talaga sa civil engineering, kasi we build structures that are subjected to forces. So we need to make sure that our buildings, structures that we build, are strong enough, sturdy enough to resist these forces. Then statics. So as I mentioned a while ago, so physics, and then branches ng physics, we have mechanics, and then mechanics, we have statics and dynamics. So our subject deals with statics. Okay, statics is division of mechanics of rigid bodies that deals with bodies which are acted on by balance forces. So balance forces, and hence are either at rest or with constant velocity. They move with constant velocity. So that's statics. So we'll be dealing with bodies which are in equilibrium. Bodies and particles. Yeah. Length, a quantity that is needed to locate the position of a point in space and thereby describe the size of physical system. So length may describe the size. No? Yung halimbawa, gusto mong i-measure yung height, length, width ng isang body. So the length describes the size, and it may also describe the position of a certain point. So for example, if you want to describe your position from the door right now, you say, I am 5 meters away from the door. So that's how you describe your position. Basically, you need the concept of length. I'm sorry, hindi ko na off yung wifi. Okay, so that's length. Next would be time. Time is an absolute quantity that measures the succession of events. So, the time, alam naman natin yung time, no? Masyadong sa time. It's a fundamental quantity. So, time. Okay? So, yun yung mga, nung nagkaroon ng Big Bang, sabi nila, nagkaroon ng Big Bang, at the same time, merong energy, matter, space, and time. So those are the fundamental quantities sa universe. I don't know. Naisip yun. Time. Mass is a property of matter by which the action of one body with that of another can be compared. This property manifests itself as a gravitational attraction between two bodies and provides a quantity measure of resistance of matter to change in velocity. That's a very technical definition, but mass measures how heavy an object is. No, the amount of matter in an object. That's mass. The more matter it has, mas compact yung molecular structure, means mas mabigat yung body. Yan. So mass. Force, it is the action of one body upon another body. The interaction can occur by direct contact or through a distance by which the bodies are physically separated. Example, the gravitational force. We will be dealing a lot about forces in this particular subject. So, yeah, this concept or topic, force, would be discussed in detail later on. A particle, so particle, a body, ito, particle, body that is thought of a single point at which all its mass is concentrated. So a particle, best explanation. There are things when we analyze objects, sometimes we consider it as a particle or as a rigid body. So kapag particle, we actually neglect the size, the dimension of the body. So when do we neglect the size of a certain object? For example, a plane, if you're analyzing the motion of a plane relative to the sky, we know that the plane is very small. Parang dot lang siya sa sky, no? So if that's how you look at it, no? So the dimensions of the plane doesn't really matter. When you analyze its motion as it moves sa may sky, the dimensions of the plane doesn't really matter. So you may analyze it as a single point or dot in the sky and analyze its motion. Okay, so ganun yung particle. Diba? Ganun din kapag ini-analyze mo yung motion ng sasakyan relative to the highway. Yung sasakyan, for example, travel siya ng 1,000 kilometers. So if you compare yung length ng sasakyan dun sa length ng highway or ng road, the motion of the vehicle, yung motion niya, yung dimensions ng vehicle, I should say, would be negligible when you analyze the motion of that vehicle throughout the stretch of that 1,000 kilometer highway. So you may neglect the dimensions, when you analyze the motion. Okay, so particles, that's particle. So next would be rigid body. Combination of a large number of particles in which all the particles remain at a fixed distance from one another both before and after applying a load. So when we analyze, it's a very technical definition, when we analyze bodies, rigid bodies, we actually consider yung kanyang dimensions. And when we do that, ang initial assumption natin is that since it's a rigid body, from the term rigid, when the body is acted upon by the force, any deformation, of course merong deformation, so kapag halimbawa kinompress mo yung concrete or yung steel, ini-stretch mo siya, so may deformation yon. So sa analysis ng rigid bodies, we're going to neglect the deformations, and we're going to consider all bodies to be rigid. That means any deformation is negligible in the analysis. Okay, there's a separate subject for that particular matter, yung pag-analyze including yung deformations. Okay? So, ito yung mga terms na kailangan nating intindihin, as before we proceed to the next chapter. So, ano ngayon ang statics of rigid bodies? So, we have defined statics, hindi statistics, statics. So we will be analyzing statics and then rigid body. Bodies or particles which are actually in equilibrium. A separate subject, dynamics of rigid bodies, will be dealing with particles and bodies which are in motion. Okay? So statics, equilibrium, rigid body, we're going to neglect the effects of deformation whenever forces are acting on bodies. Okay, we need also to review Newton's laws of motion. So Newton's we have three, in some books dalawa lang, but we actually have three. First law is the law of inertia. Law of inertia. Second law, law of acceleration or motion. The third law is law of interaction or action and reaction. So in some books, the first law is a special case of the second law where the acceleration is equal to 0. Pero I think many books would agree na okay lang, tatlo na lang yung Newton's laws of motion natin. Basically, subject natin, we're going to apply the first and the third law. The second law would be applied in dynamics of rigid bodies. Yan. And other principles like conversion of units, conversion from one dimension to another, conversion from one system of units to another system of unit, then I think you already know how to do that. Your calculators, I think, are capable of doing that. Please review na lang yung kung paano mag-convert. Okay, yung concept ng force, mass, and I think discuss naman na natin yung kanina. So, ayan. So, yun lang, I think. Other concerns, maybe, We will discuss na lang. If you have other concerns about the subject, you may raise them. You may also comment on the comment section of this video para maybe I can respond to your queries or questions there on those comment sa my comment section na lang. Or you may also message dun sa group chat or dun sa MBLE. Okay? Ano pa ba yung ibang kailangan nating intindihin? I think that is all for now. Videos will be uploaded sa YouTube. I will attach the link dun sa MBLE natin. I think I have uploaded already the second chapter of your module. I hope you have read yung mga nandoon. Sana naintindihan yun. Hindi naintindihan, gawa tayo ng video. Lecture video para baka mas maintindihan natin kapag merong explanations through this video, no? Yung mga video na gagawin natin. Okay, so that's it for now. See you sa next video.